Vasudeva. Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Joining today. So we'd like to seek the blessings of Radha Madhava, Shishira, Krishna Balaram, Gauri. The overview of Canto 11. So today we're at chapter 5. This is a very famous verse, which is the prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. Krishna Vandam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Prasatam Yagyais in the age of Kali Yuga, in the age of Kali. Who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He's accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So many people, they ask about why or how do we explain that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So this is the verse in the Bhagavatam. He is predicted to appear in this age of Kali Yuga, but it's described that his complexion is not black, it's golden, but he's Krishna himself. And what does he do? He chants Krishna's name, he chants his own names. So, and he encourages Sankirtan, the congregational chanting, to worship the Supreme Lord. So this is very, very nice verse. Very important verse for us. So the chapter is entitled, Narad concludes his teachings to Vasudeva. In this chapter, the destination of persons who are inimical to the worship of Lord Hari, who are unable to control their own senses, and who are not peaceful is examined, along with the different names, forms, and modes of worship of the personality of Godhead in each yuga. So, continuing with Maharaj Nimi, he's asking still the Yogendras, 9 Yogendras, kindly explain to me the destination of those who, for the most part, never worship the Supreme Lord, Hari, who are unable to quench their material desires and who are not in control of their own selves. This time, Sri Chamasa, he replies, from the face, arms, thighs, and feet of the primeval person, Lord Vishnu, are born correspondingly in order of the modes of passion, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the 4 varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So Brahmins are generally regarded to be in order of goodness. Kshatriyas, Shudra, ignorance. And also the 4 different ashrams. Do not worship Lord Shri Hari, they will simply fall down. So this is a conclusion by this sage, which sounds about right. Among these classes, women in Shudra, who generally have no contact with the hearing and chanting of Hari Katha, are on account of their very ignorant special candidates for the mercy of great souls. So in perhaps earlier ages, the ladies were mainly cooking and looking after household chores, looking after the children. So they may not have had much access to Hari Katha. Of course, in Kali Yuga, it's different. If we look at satsangs, then ladies mainly fill the congregation. The gents are usually outside smoking. So, Varnas. So that's the Brahma feet of Hari by second birth through Vedic injunction, nevertheless become confused by concocted interpretations of the Vedas. Presuming themselves to be great scholars, although not understanding the essential meaning of karma, they become flatterers of other deities in their greed for fruitive results, and they ridicule the devotees of the Lord. So this is explaining that the karma kanda, that the worshippers would want something in return for their worship. So they flatter other deities to get what they want. So they worship the devatas to obtain material wealth. They are fixed in family life, attached to mundane gossip, and indifferent to the devotional service of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas. However, such attachment to family life and so on is most natural for the mass of people, even though it is against the best advice of scriptures. So a lot of people say, yes, I'm doing my duty to my family. And yes, that duty is there. But if one becomes attached to that family, attached to the wealth, i.e., I can't live without it, this is permanent, this is mine, this is always going to be there, then we are under illusion, because that wealth will one day disappear, that family will one day disappear, and we will also disappear. So this is the understanding that we have to have, which is given in the scriptures, that in this material world, everything is temporary. And we as permanent souls, permanent living entities, have to find solace at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who is permanent. So, they are maddened by material opulence and pleasures, devoid of real discrimination and intelligence, and always function on the mental platform. Understanding ritualistic for bodily maintenance, they perform unauthorized ceremonies in which slaughter animals such as goats without any understanding of the dark consequences of their activities. So this happens very often. We had somebody the other day say, because I was asking them if they're vegetarian, they said, no, I belong to Bihar and we do goat sacrifices to Mother Kali, and that is acceptable according to the Vedas. Well, okay. But the consequences are going to be very heavy for you, because you're killing life in order to satisfy your tongue. According to Vedic injunctions, when wine is offered in sacrificial ceremonies, it is later to be consumed by smelling, not by drinking. Similarly, the sacrificial offering of animals is permitted in the Vedas, but there is no provision for wide-scale animal slaughter. And the idea of the sacrificial offering of animals is that it is done by proper Brahmins, so that the animal is promoted to the human platform. But there's no such Brahman in this world, in this Kali Yuga. So this is forbidden. Religious sex life is also permitted, but only in marriage for begetting children, not for sensuous exploitation of the body. Unfortunately, however, the less intelligent materialists cannot understand that their duties in life should be performed purely on the spiritual platform. To become disentangled from such life is the principal teachings of the Vedas. Real wealth is that conducive to the faithful execution of the duty of the soul. not that which exists simply for selfish sense gratification. As a consequence of the desire to indulge the senses, men and women couple together to produce children. Well, maybe not even to produce children, just to enjoy. Engaging in animal slaughter, these human animals themselves suffer violence in the next life. If because of excessive greed for one's own pleasure, one commits violence against living beings, he's also attacking Lord Sri Hari, who is present in the bodies of all living entities as a super soul. So this is a very interesting, very powerful comment. So when somebody is acting in violence against others for their own pleasure, you're actually attacking Lord Vishnu. Very interesting. Materialistic people fail to see that insurmountable death will soon destroy the frail material body. So no matter how strong we think our body is, a little virus can knock it out. So we're not very strong. The virus is stronger than us. So death will come. It's just a question of time. In such foolish condition, these conditioned souls envy other living entities as well as the Supreme Lord. Ah, my neighbor has got a better car than I have, so I should get a better car. Thus, enviously offending others, the conditioned souls gradually fall down into hell. Those who have not achieved knowledge of the absolute truth yet, who are still beyond the darkness of complete ignorance, generally follow the threefold path of pious material life. So one may be in between, not completely ignorant, not completely understanding the absolute truth. So in the middle ground. So they generally will follow this threefold path of pious material life, namely religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. And the final fourth one is moksha. But the three, they would be religious, go to satsangs, but with a materialistic attitude, they would increase their wealth of the family, and they would enjoy that wealth. That is generally the threefold path of material pious life. Not having time to reflect on any higher purpose, they become the killers of their own soul and are never peaceful, because they consider that human intelligence is ultimately meant for expanding material life. Killer of the soul, what does that mean? Because the soul is eternal, how can the soul be killed? So what that means is becoming more and more ignorant, becoming more and more contaminated in this material world. So conditioned in this material world. So we, it means killer of the soul by increasing the level of our ignorance. So as we continue to increase our ignorance of the Supreme, we become more. Oh, put the hand down. Yeah. We, as we become more ignorant, we become more further away from the Supreme Lord. So the chances of us actually becoming self-realized, understanding that we are the Atma, is less and less and less. And less, therefore, we become killers of our own souls. So less likely to understand who we are. We're destroying ourselves. Neglecting their real spiritual duties, they are always in distress. They are filled with great hopes and dreams, but unfortunately, they are always destroyed by the inevitable march of time. So time destroys it, as we know. So amazing answers by is Yugendra. King Nimi further asks, in what colors and forms does the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear in each of the different ages? And with what names? And by what types of regulative principles is the Lord worshipped in human society? Very nice question. And Karabhajan, he answers, Sri Hari is accepted in each of the different yugas in various colors, names, and forms, and is worshipped by various prescribed processes. In Satya Yuga, the Supreme Lord is white in complexion, has 4 arms, dresses as a brahmachari, is known by such names as Hamsa, and is served by the practice of meditational yoga, which is the Yuga Dharma for all. In Treta Yuga, he is red in color and 4-armed, is a personification of sacrifice. It's characterized by the symbols of the sacrificial spoon, ladle, etc. Is called by such names as Yajna and is worshipped by Vedic sacrifices. In Dwapara Yuga, he is of dark blue complexion, wears a yellow garment, is marked by Srivatsa and other signs, has such names as Vasudeva, and is worshipped in his deity form by the regulations of the Vedas and Tantras. So these are the 3 very interesting forms of both in the Satya, Steta, and Dwapara. And then Kali Yuga, this is exactly the verse that we read today. Kali Yuga is golden in color. He's accompanied by associates who are his primary and secondary limbs. And his weapons is absorbed in Krishna Katha. So the weapon he carries is the holy name of the Lord to destroy our ignorance. And is worshipped by performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Since in Kali Yuga, all goals of human life can be achieved simply by glorification of the holy name of Lord Sri Hari, the inhabitants of Satya Yuga and other ages desire to take birth in this Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is so powerful in this, especially this Kali Yuga, because it just comes after, or in this Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So even the Devatas, they want to take birth on earth from heaven because it's so easy to become God conscious in this age of Kali Yuga. Enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by performance of Sankirtan. So this is really our benediction. We're in Kali Yuga, no doubt, the worst age, but it's the best age for becoming God realized. One who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda is not indebted and has no need to serve the demigods, sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Otherwise, we have debts to the demigods because they provide water, rain, or they provide the earth, Bhumi Devi. So we have a debt to the sages as well. They provide knowledge. Ordinary living entities, those who sweep the streets, we have a debt to them as well because they're doing a service to us. Relatives, friends, mankind, even one's forefathers. So none of those debts, all of those debts are paid by the Supreme Lord. And this is the verse, really powerful. Devarshi bhutapta nanam pitam na kinkaro nayami anri cha rajan sarvatmana ya saranam charanyam gato mukundam parihartya kartan. O King, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who passed away. Why? Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. And the example is, there's no need to water the leaves and the roots, the branches of the tree. If we simply water the root, everything gets nourished and is satisfied. So if we simply serve the root of Lord Krishna, the source of everyone, then actually everybody is satisfied, just like the leaves and branches are satisfied by watering the roots. So all debts get repaid. Otherwise, we will have debts which we will never repay, cannot repay. So we have to take shelter of the Supreme. Sri Hari appears in the hearts of devotees who know no other shelter than him, and causelessly drives away all evil desires from the devotees' hearts. So then, Maharaj Nimi, he was very happy with the Raj Nimi, having heard elaborate descriptions of Bhagavad Dharma from the mouth of the Navyoginas, offered worship to them with a satisfied mind. Then they disappeared. So Dev Rishi Narad informed Vasudeva about the ultimate shelter of devotional service, and by how affectionate and intimate association, always seeing, embracing, speaking, resting, sitting together with him and taking their meal with him, undoubtedly both Vasudeva and Devaki have completely purified their hearts. So this is the end. Oh, it's not. Okay, let's do a little bit more. So Narad Muni then told Vasudeva that although Lord Krishna had become his son, having appeared in this world to free the earth of its burden, he should still not think of Krishna as his child, but rather as the Supreme Personality of God. So now this, sometimes Krishna makes the devotee forget that they know Krishna is supreme, so that they can serve him as a parent or as a lover. But here, Narad Muni is instructing Vasudeva, you should not think Krishna is your child. He's not. He's a supreme Lord. The reason for this was that the Lord has concealed his inconceivable opulences and is thus outwardly appearing to be an ordinary human being. However, the Lord descended to kill the demoniac kings who were the burden of the earth and to protect the saintly devotees. Even while they were lying down or sitting or engaging in other activities, inimical kings like Shishupal and Poundarak and Shalva, they enviously meditated upon him and received spiritual liberation in the Lord's own abode. Why? Because they were just thinking of the Lord, even though it was a negative way. So whether one thinks of the Lord positively or negatively, the result is the same. Of course, we don't think of God negatively. Both the demons and the devotees are awarded liberation by the Lord's mercy. What then can be said of the benediction offered to those who constantly fix their minds on Lord Krishna in a favorable, loving mood? This is where we want to be, in a favorable, loving mood. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued, having heard this narration, the greatly fortunate Vasudeva was completely struck with wonder. Thus, he and his most blessed wife, Devaki, gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. Anyone who meditates on this pious historical narration with fixed attention will purify himself of all contamination in this very life and thus achieve the highest spiritual perfection. So this is chapter 5 concluded. Any questions, any comments? So is Madhusudan Prabhu there? Or if he's not, Kamakshi, are you okay?
No, he hasn't come back home yet. So I shall just read it through if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 5. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Through the conversation between King Nimi and the 9 Yogendras, we learn about the destination of those who for the most part never worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who are unable to quench their material desires and who are not in control of their own selves. We also learn about the role of the Varnas and the ashrams as established by the Supreme Lord. Also, how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, accepts in each of the different yugas various colors, names, and forms, and is worshipped by the various prescribed processes. We have to be so grateful for being in Kali Yuga, because in Kali Yuga, he, the Supreme Lord, is golden in color, is accompanied by associates who are his primary and secondary limbs and his weapons, is absorbed in Krishna Kirtan, and is worshipped by the performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Since in Kali Yuga, all the goals of human life can be achieved simply by the glorification of the holy name of Lord Sri Hari. Those who can appreciate the real essence of things praise Kali Yuga. All glories to Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to Sri Prabhupada, and all glories to our beloved Krishna Das Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you. Any questions, any comments? It's an amazing chapter, sort of describing the position of those who are not interested in God consciousness. Very, very nice chapter. Make sure we don't fall into that trap.
Just one question, please. Yes. Okay. It's difficult to make everybody believe in the God. It's not easy. It's my experience.
That's correct.
I just took it out. It's not easy. I've got grandchildren and they do ask questions every now and again. I try to make them understand, but I will only understand what my knowledge is. But it is not easy, I tell you. Sometimes people say, well, show me the God. Where is God? It's not easy. Yeah. I mean, the chapter is very nice, the one she read now. Our generation, my generation, I'm talking about, because our parents brought up that way, because our parents were more religious, and myself religious. Anyway, I'll be honest, my husband not too much, but this is it.
Yeah.
Children are. Son is quite good, Deepak. You know Deepak.
I know Deepak, yes.
And my daughter is too, but my daughter keeps saying, Mommy, it's difficult for me to understand my own children, to learn all about the Vedic.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm just generally telling you. And
it's very true.
And it's not easy to please everyone.
But if somebody says to you, show me God, prove me, okay, you can say to them, show me, how do you know if you're alive? Are you alive? Prove it to me you're alive. Can you see air? Can you see air? No, you can't see air, right? So air does not exist. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's foolish. So if you're alive, you're breathing air, you can't see air. Are you alive?
Yes. Yeah.
So in the same way, can you see in this world the wonderful logic, the order of this world? You don't see planets crashing with each other. They're in nice orbit. There's a nice order everywhere. There's order. So do you think this order has just come from a big bang?
No.
No. Somebody's put that order.
Yeah.
Even the person who invented this Big Bang phrase, he was a scientist. His name was Fred Hoyle. Even him said the chances of this Big Bang theory are as good as this, right? If there was a rubbish yard and a tornado went through that rubbish yard. And at the end of that tornado, a beautiful Boeing 747 was there automatically. What's the chances of that? 0. So that's what this scientist himself is saying. The chances of Big Bang Theory is rubbish. But they are teaching this as if it's fact in the schools.
It's fact, yeah.
And it's such a misservice to the Supreme Lord. But if somebody doesn't believe, you can give them those arguments. But ultimately, we have to have the strength of belief ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
If we have it, it doesn't matter what others feel or don't feel. Well, if they don't believe us, that's their problem. We try to convince them, but at the end of the day, it's between them and God, not between you and them.
No,
so,
that's right. Thank you.
Let's increase our faith, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Haribol, Pratibha, then I would say that when they are ready, they will absolutely agree to whatever Vedic Shastra says it. So I think they have to be ready for it. Of course, you have to keep doing it, introduce all the Vedic knowledge, what you know, or get sources like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and all that. It is doable. If you think about all the Westerners, they didn't have anybody to guide. Prabhupada took the Shastras to them. And the ones who were ready for it, the ones who were able to accept it, they got through, they got in, and they saying, yes, God exists.
God exists, yeah. I mean, it's very good the way you are telling. When the children grow themselves from inside, this Vedic will come from inside them. Yes, there is a God, I mean, pushing them is no good.
No, can't push him.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
It's like taking a horse to the pond, and if the horse is not thirsty, he's not going to drink the water. If you bring somebody a Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, if they're not thirsty for that knowledge, they won't have it. Haribol.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So anything else? Anybody else? Okay. So let's pray for everybody's. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.